caught my wife cheating, I ruined her and her lover. My wife was keeping a young man. That scene I will never forget. The moment I pushed open the private room door, she and that boy were passionately kissing. The boy looked to be just in his early 20s, with skin as fair as a child's. I can hardly believe that all of this is real. My hand still lingered on the doorknob, but countless images flashed through my mind. I remembered last month, she said she was going to a best friend's birthday party, and I found an unopened box of condoms in her bag. She said it was for her best friend, who asked her to help buy them. I believed it. I remembered that last week she suddenly said she was going to get her hair done, but I couldn't reach her all day. When she came back, she said there was no signal in the beauty salon. I believed it too. I remembered that she had been growing increasingly cold towards me lately, saying it was due to work pressure. And now all those absurd excuses have found a perfect explanation. The lover was momentarily stunned, then looked at me with clear eyes and said, "I know you are my sister's husband, but sorry, my true love is with her." His tone was flippant and confident, as if he were talking about something perfectly ordinary. I said nothing and directly grabbed the wine bottle on the table. "Then let's celebrate your true love with a headshot." Bella was clearly frightened by me. She hurriedly broke free from the boy's side. "Honey, let me explain." "Explain?" I sneered. "Explain why you bought a designer bag for a boy who hasn't even grown a single hair? Or explain why you went to a hotel with him?" I took out my phone and pulled up the photos I had collected. "Here's the surveillance footage of you two at the mall. Here's the hotel check-in record. Do you want me to show you these photos one by one?" Bella instantly collapsed onto the sofa. I knew what she was thinking. As the editor-in-chief of a fashion magazine, her reputation was what mattered most to her. If these photos were to leak, the elegant image she had painstakingly cultivated would completely collapse. "Honey, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." She threw herself at my legs. "Will you forgive me this once? I promise I'll never do it again." I looked down on her from above. This woman who once seemed noble and elegant in my eyes was now writhing on the ground like a loach, begging for mercy. "Let me go." I shook her off forcefully, then turned to that pretty boy. "Kid, do you really think it's impressive to be able to seduce a mature woman? I truly love my sister." He straightened his back. "Unlike you, who only knows how to make money to support the family and has no understanding of romance. What my sister needs is a lover who can bring her passion." I laughed, a laugh that was extremely cold. "Passion? Then let me show you what true passion is." I grabbed the bottle and smashed it hard against his head. At the critical moment, Bella lunged forward and stood in front of him. "No!" The bottle grazed her shoulder and smashed against the wall, shards scattering everywhere. The private room fell into a deathly silence. I watched her protect the pretty boy, and it felt as if someone had stabbed a knife deep into my chest. 10 years of feelings couldn't compare to her standing up for a pretty boy. "Very well." I nodded. "If this is true love, then be together." After saying that, I turned and left the private room. Behind me came her crying and shouting, "Husband, listen to my explanation." I really know I was wrong. I turned a deaf ear. In the elevator, I looked at myself in the mirror. Dressed in a suit, mature and steady. A stark contrast to that fair and delicate lover. So in her eyes, I am just a man who only knows how to make money. Back home, I collapsed completely on the sofa. This home that Bella and I built together now seems so ironic. The wedding photo on the wall was still smiling at me. The watch she gave me on our wedding anniversary last year was placed on the coffee table, and the coffee cup she used to make me coffee this morning was still left in the kitchen. Suddenly, I went mad and rushed over, smashing the wedding photo heavily onto the floor. Glass shards scattered everywhere, cutting my hand. Blood dripped down my fingers, but I couldn't feel the pain. 10 years. A full 10 years. When I met her, she was just an ordinary editor at a magazine. To support her career, I worked hard and climbed step by step to my current position. I finally gave her a decent life, making her a hot editor-in-chief in the fashion world. But I never expected that all of this would go to waste. The phone started vibrating wildly at this moment. It was her. Since leaving the private room, she had already made dozens of calls and sent over 100 messages. I casually swiped to take a look. "Husband, please answer the phone. I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance, please. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have acted on impulse. Husband, where are you? I'm so worried about you." I sneered coldly, turned off my phone, and threw it aside. As the night deepened, I sat alone in the darkness and lit a cigarette. Amid the swirling smoke, I began to recall all the abnormalities in this marriage. The subtle clues had long been there, but I trusted her too much and chose to selectively ignore it all. She started frequenting upscale clubs, saying it was to maintain her social circle. Her clothing became increasingly revealing, saying it was to keep up with the trends. She grew colder towards me, saying it was due to the heavy pressure from work. Looking back now, she probably met all kinds of men at those occasions. And that pretty boy was just one of them. I turned on the computer and opened an encrypted folder. These are the pieces of evidence I've collected recently: transfer records, surveillance videos, hotel receipts. I even know all the details about that pretty boy inside out. Chris, 24 years old, a small internet celebrity who makes a living through live streaming and attending business events. Before I met Bella, I had ambiguous relationships with several wealthy women. What a clever tactic. I lit another cigarette. Amid the curling blue smoke, a plan gradually took shape in my mind. Since she loves to play so much, I'll play along with her properly. I want her to know that betrayal comes with a price. Just then, the doorbell suddenly rang. I looked through the peephole, and it was her. Bella was standing outside the door, her makeup messy, her eyes red from crying. It seems that during the time I turned off my phone, she really got worried. I did not open the door. "Honey, I know you're at home. Please open the door, okay?" Her voice was choked with tears. "Let me explain. I really know I was wrong." I watched coldly as she knelt at the door, crying. Once upon a time, this scene would have broken my heart. But now, my heart has long since turned cold as ice. She knelt at the door for a full 2 hours. She kept crying, kept apologizing, and kept promising without stop. The neighbors next door were all woken up and poked their heads out to see what was going on. The dignified image she once cared about the most now seemed worthless in her eyes. It was not until 3 in the morning that she finally left. Before leaving, she left a note at the door. "Husband, I really know I was wrong. Please calm down, okay? I will be here waiting for your forgiveness. I swear I will never do anything to hurt you again. Please give me one more chance." I picked up the note and slowly tore it to pieces. In the night, I made a call. "Lawyer Han, I need you to prepare the divorce papers for me." Yes, the sooner the better. At 9 in the morning, I arrived at the company on time. Everything was as usual. Meetings, reviewing documents, meeting clients. No one knew what I had been through last night. Until noon, the receptionist called to say someone was looking for me. "Liam, your wife is waiting for you in the lobby." She said it's urgent. I glanced at my watch. Let her come up. Soon, Bella appeared in my office. She was carefully dressed, with exquisite makeup, wearing a white dress, looking elegant and dignified. But I knew it was just her disguise. "Husband?" She tentatively called out to me. "Call me Liam." I didn't even look up, continuing to handle the documents. "Speak, what is it?" She bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. "Why didn't you answer my call?" "I couldn't sleep all night." "Oh!" I sneered coldly. "Don't you still have your lover with you? How could you not sleep?" "No," she explained urgently. "I've already cut off all contact with him. It was just a moment of confusion. I swear I will never do it again." A moment of confusion. I finally looked up. A moment of confusion lasts for 3 months. A moment of confusion requires booking more than 10 hotel rooms. A moment of confusion costs over 200,000. She instantly collapsed onto the sofa. You knew everything? I of course know. I stood up, looking down at her. Otherwise, why do you think I appeared in that private room? I've been investigating you for a long time. Husband? She threw herself at my legs. I really know I was wrong. I will definitely change. Please forgive me this once. I pushed her away forcefully. It's too late. Saying that, I took a document out of the drawer. This is the divorce agreement. Take a look and see if there's anything you want to change. She looked at me in disbelief. Divorce? No, I don't want a divorce. Honey, please calm down, okay? We can start over. Start over. I sneered, just like when you swore there wouldn't be a next time, then turned around and found another pretty boy. No, I promise this time it's real. She shook her head desperately, tears streaming uncontrollably. I remained unmoved. Take a good look at the agreement. I'll give you a decent compensation. The house and car will be yours, plus 20 million in cash compensation. The terms are very generous. I don't want money. She grabbed my hand. I only want you. Husband, you can make me do anything. I really can't live without you. I shook off her hand. Enough? Think it over carefully. If there are no problems, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. No. She shook her head frantically. Please give me one more chance. Just one. I turned a deaf ear and walked straight to the door. The secretary will be here soon to deliver the documents. Have some self-respect and get yourself together before you leave. After saying that, I left the office without looking back. Behind me came her heart-wrenching cries, but my heart had long since gone numb. That day, I buried myself in work. I didn't get home until late at night. Just as I reached downstairs, I saw her curled up at the doorway. She had obviously been waiting for a long time. Seeing me, she immediately rushed over. Husband, you're finally back. Move aside, I said coldly. No. She clung tightly to my leg. If you don't forgive me, I won't leave. I looked down at her. Do you think this is meaningful? I don't care. She cried, gasping for breath. Unless you forgive me. I sighed and crouched down. All right, then I'll ask you, if I forgive you, can you promise not to do it again? She nodded repeatedly. I promise. I swear. I will never do anything to hurt you again in this lifetime. Then tell me, why did you do this? I looked her in the eyes. Was I not good enough to you? Or couldn't I give you the life you wanted? She was stunned. I don't know either. She lowered her head. I just felt life was too dull. He was young and handsome and knew how to say sweet things. I was momentarily blinded. I stood up. So your answer is because I'm old, not handsome enough, and can't make you happy? No, she hurriedly explained. You're the best. It's all my fault. Enough. I interrupted her. You should go back. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 10 a.m. tomorrow. After saying that, I walked past her into the room and slammed the door shut. She cried and shouted outside the door, Husband, open the door. I beg you to forgive me. I really know I was wrong. I ignored her pleas and poured myself a glass of wine. That night, she knelt outside the door until dawn. And I began to prepare my plan for revenge. 1 week later, my team of lawyers was ready, poised to deliver a fatal blow to Chris and Bella at any moment. But I decided to wait a little longer. Because the real show is just beginning. Bella was almost going crazy this week. She stayed downstairs at my company every day, and when the security guards chased her away, she went to my doorstep. She had been kneeling on the ground for so long that her knees were bruised. That pretty boy was surprisingly sensible and disappeared completely, probably afraid that I would really beat him to death. After work that day, I ran into her again downstairs. She looked very haggard, her eyes red and swollen from crying, and her carefully maintained face was full of fatigue. Husband? She called me timidly. I stopped in my tracks. What's the matter? She took out a stack of papers from her bag. This is a letter of guarantee I wrote. Take a look and see if it's okay. I took it and glanced over it casually. 10 full pages, filled with her remorse and promises. Is this how you want to save this marriage? I asked her. Yes, she nodded firmly. Honey, please give me one more chance, okay? I'll do anything. I was silent for a moment. All right, then I'll give you a chance. Her eyes lit up. Really? But there's one condition. You say it. I'll agree to any condition. I looked at her and said, aren't you quite influential in the circle? Then just make your affair with Chris public. Tell everyone that you are a despicable woman who betrayed her husband. Her face instantly turned pale. I continued, what? Unwilling? Then does that mean your remorse is all fake? No, she bit her lip, but if I do that, I'll be ruined in the circle. So your reputation is more important than our marriage. I sneered. Well, after all, with a reputation, you can find another pretty boy. It's not like that. She was so anxious she was about to cry. I just what? I stared at her say it. She finally broke down and cried loudly. Please, don't make me do this. I will really be ruined. Huh. I tore the guarantee letter to pieces and threw it in her face. Get lost. Don't let me see you again. After saying that, I turned and got into the car, leaving. In the rearview mirror, she was slumped on the ground, looking so pitiful. But I knew this was just another one of her performances. Back home, I turned on my computer and continued refining my plan. I want to make sure she and that pretty boy both completely fail in the circle. Just then, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw it was my assistant, Xiao Wang. Liam, man.She. What happened? Man.She fainted downstairs at the company, now at the hospital. I furrowed my brows. Which hospital? City Central Hospital. I hesitated for a moment, but still drove to the hospital. In the ward, Bella lay on the bed, and 4 drip inserted in the back of her hand. Seeing me come in, she smiled weakly. Honey, you're here. What did the doctor say? I asked. It's nothing serious, just too tired, a bit of low blood sugar. She looked at me cautiously. Are you still mad at me? I said nothing. She continued, Honey, I know I was wrong. You can hit me or scold me. Just please don't ignore me, okay? I turned around and was about to leave. Wait. She struggled to get up, her hand trembling as she pulled out the 4-needle, blood flowing down the back of her hand. I instinctively looked back. What are you doing? Don't go. She grabbed my hand. Please stay with me, just for a moment. Blood flowed from her hand onto mine. The warm sensation made my heart tremble. Nurse. I pressed the call button. She pulled out the needle. The nurse quickly came over to reinsert the needle. Before leaving, they said, the patient has been very weak lately and needs plenty of rest. It would be best if family members could stay by her side. I sat on the chair beside the hospital bed, looking at her pale face. Once, I too stayed by her side like this, never leaving her for a moment as she was ill. But now my heart is no longer what it used to be. Sleep. I said, when you're better, we'll go get a divorce. Tears welled up in her eyes instantly. I don't want a divorce. I really know I was wrong. Can you give me one more chance? I remained silent. She sobbed softly, tears soaking the pillow. Husband, do you still remember when we just got married? You said you would never leave me in this lifetime. But who was the one who betrayed first? I said coldly. She cried even harder. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'll do whatever you want. I stood up. You should rest well. Don't go. She tried to pull out the needle again. I held her hand. Behave yourself. Rest well and don't overexert yourself. Only then did she calm down, looking at me pitifully. Then can you not leave? I sighed and sat down again. She showed a faint smile and weakly closed her eyes. Fell asleep shortly after. I looked at her sleeping face and recalled many past memories. 10 years ago, she was a newly graduated junior editor, wearing a dress that cost only a few hundred yuan, yet she was as elegant as a princess. At that time, her eyes were clear, and her smile was bright. But now, I shook my head, gently got up, and left. The warmth in my eyes faded, becoming cold again. All of this is her own doing. 3 days later, Bella was discharged from the hospital. During that time, I never went to see her, but I knew she was always waiting for me. On the day she was discharged, she sent me a message. "Husband, I've come to understand. I'm willing to publicly admit my mistakes to everyone, just hoping you can forgive me." I looked at my phone and sneered coldly. At this point, did she think this was enough? But I still replied to her, "All right, then let's hold a press conference." She quickly responded, "Okay. When do you want to do it?" "Tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the M Grand Hotel," I said. "I will arrange for the media." The press conference was held as scheduled. A large number of media personnel and many insiders from the industry showed up at the scene. After all, Bella is a prominent figure in the fashion world, and her every move is closely watched. She wore a black dress, looking much more haggard, but still very beautiful. "Hello, everyone. I called you here today to apologize." Her voice trembled slightly. I did something that deeply wronged my husband." The audience immediately began to murmur among themselves. She fought back tears and continued, "I had an improper relationship with a young man. I betrayed my husband's trust in me. I deeply regret it." Before she could finish speaking, the back door of the venue was suddenly pushed open. Chris walked in. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. He was dressed in designer clothes, looking quite presentable. "Sister Bai, what are you doing?" he said with a smile. "Why suddenly hold this kind of press conference?" Bella's face instantly turned pale. I stood in the corner, watching it all unfold. "The real show is just beginning. Chris, how are you here?" Her voice trembled. "Of course, I'm here to find you." He smiled as he stepped onto the stage. "You haven't answered my calls all this time. I miss you." Saying this, he took out a stack of photos from his pocket in front of everyone. "Come, let everyone see our every little moment." The photos scattered on the ground, all of them intimate shots together. Some were taken in upscale restaurants, some in hotel rooms, and others in private clubs. The scene erupted in uproar. "Oh my God, isn't this the bag that was just released last month? Over 500,000. Look at that watch. Limited edition, at least 800,000. These photos are so explosive." The flashbulbs were flashing wildly, all cameras focused on those photos. Bella slumped in the chair, her face as pale as paper. Why are you doing this?" She looked at Chris, her voice trembling. "Why?" Chris sneered. "Because you want to dump me. In your eyes, I'm just a toy, right? Now that you're tired of me, you want to kick me away?" He turned to the audience. "Let me tell you all, she's not some noble editor-in-chief. She's a slut who specifically seduces young men." "Shut up," Bella screamed. But it was already too late. The scene had already erupted. Everyone was buzzing with talk, constantly taking photos and videos. Her reputation was completely destroyed at that moment. I stood in the corner, watching it all. Chris performed very well, completely according to the script. Those photos, of course, were brought by him at my request. As for why he cooperated? Because I gave him a sum of money much more than what Bella gave him. This greedy little man would do anything for money. The press conference ended in chaos. The headlines of major media outlets have already come out. Fashion Circle's socialite cheats with a young, fresh face. The double life of the wealthy chief editor. True love bought for 500,000, /. I looked at the news and curled my lips into a cold smile. This is not the end yet. At night, I received her message / "You arranged this, didn't you?" / I did not reply. Soon, she sent another message. "Why are you treating me like this?" I still didn't respond. Until late at night, She appeared at my doorstep. But this time, I didn't shut her out like before. I opened the door and looked at her haggard face. "Come in." She stumbled inside and collapsed onto the sofa. Why are you taking revenge on me like this? Can't take it?" I sneered. "This is just the beginning." She looked up at me, her eyes full of despair. "What more do you want?" "My reputation is completely ruined." "So what?" I looked down on her. "You destroyed my trust and love, so I destroyed everything about you. Fair, isn't it? You've changed." She said through tears, "You weren't like this before." "Yeah, I've changed." I sneered. "Thanks to your betrayal, I finally understood the cruelty of this world." She lunged forward and grabbed my leg. "Please, don't do this." I know I was wrong. I pushed her away forcefully. "It's too late. Everything is too late." After saying that, I took out a document. "This is the new divorce agreement. Take a look." She took the documents, her hands trembling. "The terms have changed," I said. "There will be no compensation. The house and car are mine, and you can take those luxury items you bought yourself." "You?" She bit her lip. "Do you hate me that much?" Resentment. I laughed. "No, I'm just seeking justice." "Also," I continued, "tomorrow your magazine will receive a report. Evidence of you accepting bribes and manipulating things behind the scenes." Her face instantly turned pale. You even investigated this?" "Not just investigated." I took out my phone and played a recording. "Listen to this." The recording captured her conversation with the merchant. "President-by, we will process this batch of advertising fees as you instructed." "All right, then the cover for this issue will be yours." "Rest assured, President-by, you won't miss out on the benefits." She collapsed to the ground. "No, please don't. It's too late." I turned off the recording. "Tomorrow this evidence will be sent to the disciplinary committee. Do you think you can still keep your position as editor-in-chief?" She broke down crying. "Why are you doing this? You clearly love me so much." "Yes, I do love you very much." I crouched down, looking straight into her eyes. "That's why I want you to remember forever that betrayal comes with a price." The next day, Bella was fired from the magazine. All the evidence was conclusive, and she didn't even have a chance to defend herself. Rumors circulated within the industry that the once untouchable fashion editor-in-chief had finally fallen. Her Weibo was overwhelmed with insults and mockery. That pretty boy Chris was also cyberbullied, and his live streaming career was completely ruined. I sat in the office, watching it all unfold. The secretary knocked and came in. "Liam, madam is downstairs. Do not see her." But she said if you don't see her, she will jump off the building. I frowned. "Call the police." But I still got up and walked downstairs. In the plaza in front of the building, Bella stood by the fountain pool. She was no longer delicate and perfect. Her hair was messy, her makeup was smudged from crying, and she looked like a madwoman. "If you don't pay attention to me again, I'll jump," she shouted at me. I looked at her coldly. "Do you think this is meaningful?" "I don't care if it makes sense or not." She cried. "Why are you so heartless?" I have nothing left. Many people had already gathered around, all taking photos and videos. I approached her. "Come down. Stop making a scene." "No," she took a step back. "If you don't forgive me, I won't come down." I stared at her. "Do you think I'll forgive you just like that?" "Please," she sobbed, gasping for breath. "I really know I was wrong." "I'll do whatever you want." "Kneel down," I said suddenly. She was stunned. "Kneel down in front of everyone and say that you are a shameless, wretched woman." I continued. "Say that you betrayed your husband, seduced a gigolo, and accepted bribes." She bit her lip, tears streaming uncontrollably. You really have changed." "Yes, I've changed." I sneered coldly. "Isn't this exactly what you wanted? Excitement, something extraordinary." She finally broke down and plunged headfirst into the fountain pool. The security guards quickly pulled her out. She was soaking wet, looking as miserable as a drowned rat. I turned and left. It seems you still prefer acting. Her cries came from behind. You'll die a terrible death. You'll regret this. I didn't look back. 1 month later, I received a piece of news. Chris was murdered at home. The killer was Bella. She stabbed that pretty boy more than 20 times with a fruit knife, then drank pesticide to commit suicide. In her suicide note, she wrote, "You destroyed everything of mine. I'll drag you to hell with me." That day, I went to her funeral. Her parents cried themselves unconscious, crying and cursing me as a murderer. I remained silent. Standing before her portrait, I lit a cigarette. Have a good journey. All of this is your own doing. From then on, I never married again. Because I no longer believed in love. But I am doing very well. My career is flourishing, and I am never short of admirers. Every day and night is filled with revelry. Only I will never give my true heart again. This is the price of betrayal. Feels kind of good.